Hello, everybody, and welcome back to 50 Shades of Tay. I'm Taylor Gonzalez, and my guest today is an incredible cinematographer. You guys know his work from films including Bambi, The Reckoning, Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare, and Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. I am so excited to be joined by Vince Knight. It's crazy, Vince. We've done several Q&As together, at the Burbank 16 or at City Walk. This is the first time I'm having you on like a one-on-one conversation. So welcome, and thank you for
I
being here.
know. Thanks so much, man. It's great to be on here. And I know I feel like I know you so well. We've done loads of Q&As in person, and you've been at a lot of the premieres and events and stuff. We I just saw you recently, didn't I? Out at Monsterpalooza.
Oh my gosh, that was
Um,
such a fun weekend.
yeah, it was so fun. I'm very excited for you to see Pinocchio, though. I feel like you should have seen it already by this point.
Yeah,
Um,
it's funny because
but
sometimes I get screeners, but then I also like waiting to see it with an
yeah,
audience for the first time too.
it's much better to watch with an audience, definitely.
Yeah, like with Bambi, because I hosted the Q&A. Where was that one? That was Burbank, but not the 16. I think it was the Burbank 8. It was you, me, and Dan, the director of the film. And I got a screener of it, but I told Dan, I was like, I'm waiting, because I wanted to see it for the first time, like in the theater with the crowd, to like see how everyone reacts to everything. So it was worth the wait.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah,
Uh,
man.
But yeah, like you said, you were just here a few weeks ago now for Monsterpalooza, which is like a huge horror convention that happens every year in Pasadena at the convention center. You were here with Andrew, the composer, Todd Masters, Nicole and Stewart from ITN. It was just like
Yeah.
everyone was here to, show off some footage from Pinocchio, talk about the making of the film. How was that weekend and how was
Yeah.
that convention for you?
It was great. I've been to Comic-Con before, but I hadn't been to Monsterpalooza. I hadn't been to many other sort of conventions or anything. So I didn't know too much about it. But when I was asked to come on a panel with Todd and some of the other crew and at this place, I thought, yeah, I have to. It's gonna be amazing. And it's the first time where because you do these things and you get people asking questions, but this time we really had it like a proper queue of people, like a line of people ready to ask questions, um, and really good questions. People really wanted to know in detail like things about the film, so it was really nice to properly engage with hardcore fans and this film is just completely up their street, with puppetry and monsters and special effects and all that sort of stuff. So we're at home there. It was great.
Yeah, it's crazy. I feel like once like the first person gets up and asks a question, then everyone else feels more comfortable
Yeah.
and then the line starts to form. It's always tough getting like that first one or two people, but then once it's going,
Yeah.
it's good. And yeah, everyone was really excited. It was really fun because you guys brought the Pinocchio animatronics, so everyone got to see it in the museum. That museum was
Yeah.
crazy, by the way.
Yeah. So cool to see Pinocchio there with everything.
Yeah, to see it
Yeah,
with
it's
like
great.
all those other iconic, like slasher villains and stuff from all these decades of horror films. It was such a cool experience. When you
It's
guys
funny.
were,
I when I turned up to the museum, they were like, "You can't touch anything." So it's super super strict everything. And I got there and Pinocchio wasn't quite in the light, right? So I sneakily like went behind the barrier and I moved the light and I turned Pinocchio a little bit and I was like, there we go, that's better.
oh my
So I
gosh.
just couldn't help myself.
When you guys come here to LA for a screening or for, a premiere or something, where do you like to go and visit? Do you have like a favorite restaurant or a favorite beach or somewhere you like to go
Oh,
check
wow.
out?
I mean, I love to be a tourist. I love going to LA with people because I've been in LA a lot of probably when you add it all together, probably like 2 years. I've spent loads of time there. Um, but I love going with people that haven't been and want to experience all the cheesy tourist things. I still love it. I think it's great. Um, favorite restaurant? I don't know. You know what? I love Bossa Nova. I don't know if you
Oh
know that
yeah, yeah,
place.
yeah, yeah.
Brazilian cuisine. I think they're amazing. Um, but yeah, no, I don't know. I love to drive up into the mountains, up in the Los Angeles forest, um, and go to the beach. Just we don't have we don't have as much in England. We don't have like the crazy big mountain scenery and stuff like that. So it's really nice to see.
Yeah, there's so much to do. So it's always fun to see like what you guys do each time you're here. I know like you guys have gotten to do Universal, right? When you guys did the screenings, there was like the weekend of screenings for I think it was Blood and Honey 2 at City Walk, which is connected to Universal. So that's always
Yeah,
fun.
yeah,
And the Santa Monica Pier, there's just so much to do here. So it's always fun when you
yeah.
guys come to visit. Before we get into Pinocchio Unstrung, I wanted to ask you something I don't think I've ever asked you at any of the Q&As we've done together. How and when did you know you wanted to become a cinematographer?
I mean, when I was a kid, I was like that little kid with the little handy camcorder, filming the pets and filming stupid little videos, and we would literally like I was filming onto like VHS tapes and like mini DV tapes, and you couldn't edit it back then. I mean, probably maybe I don't know. Like I didn't have the technology or whatever, but we would literally I would make little films by just filming the shot I wanted and stopping it, and then filming the next one, and they would be put in sequence on the actual mini DV tape, and then you would play the mini DV tape, straight into. You could like play it in an adapter in a VHS player. So I was just literally like a kid messing around with cameras. It's just what I always did, really. As I grew up, I went to do sort of filming like skateboarding videos and stuff like that, and then events and all sorts. And I never really, for a long time, I never even thought of it as a career. Like, I didn't even think it was something you could like do professionally. It wasn't like I hadn't even, obviously I knew about like movies and that industry, but I never even comprehended the idea that like I could do that. Um, and then I actually went to study graphic design because my school had pushed us into going to uni, and they looked at the things that you're good at, your grades and stuff, and they said, all right, go do this. And off I went, and I hated it. And then I quit and went to do filmmaking. Um, and there we are. That's it.
Ah, that is so cool. I always love hearing like all the different ways people get involved with filmmaking and everyone's story is different and unique. So it's, always cool. And I can't believe, yeah, I've never asked that. So very fun.
Yeah.
So everyone that I've talked to is super excited for Pinocchio Unstrung, and you guys got to use the practical puppet and animatronics that you just talked about being at Monsterpalooza. But what was your reaction when you got the call or you got the email saying, "Hey, we're going to use a practical puppet. Like we're not going to use CGI. We're not going to, put something digital. It's going to be there practical." How did you react to that news?
I mean, I'm pretty much talking with Scott and Reese. We have a group chat, and like it's every single day, like all the time. I probably have messages from them right now. Like I literally do. And it's like so every single little thing that we're planning or discussing, like it's always there. So it wasn't like some, you know, big email with this is the plan. It's just been like a slow growing thing, and yeah, I mean, I trust them, a lot to wherever they want to go. I'll follow them into battle. So I think they're a creative force, and I think for this one, when Reese, was sort of suggesting some of his ideas, it was just like, yeah, let's do it. I'm fully down. We'll worry about the technicalities later, but for now, it sounds, a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm so glad you guys went with the practical thing. Number one,
Yeah, yeah.
it changes the way the film is. Like you can just tell watching just the trailer and the footage that I've seen so far, just the people interacting with Pinocchio would be so different than if it was, a tennis ball or something digital there that they're not really acting with. And number two, getting to see it up close in person,
Mm.
it blew my mind how detailed it was, how like nice it looked. It like I kept looking at it when we went to the pub, like the Pinocchio at the pub thing, like the final night of Monsterpalooza. I just kept looking at it and I was like, I cannot believe like how great this thing is and that it's like a
Yeah.
physical thing that exists in the real world.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, having something, tangible that's there on set is so much better, and not just for actors to have something to sit opposite and react to, but to like to shoot and to have something, we would use it as much as possible to make it clear that we had it on set and in frame for real. So, we would have like, light bouncing off it, and if he was having blood going onto him and reflections and all these little imperfections that you capture in camera that if you did it with CGI, you probably wouldn't be able to do as easily because you want things to not be perfect. You want, the focus to not be quite perfect, or him to be a little bit janky, or you the blood spray to not be perfect, and all these like little. accidents that happen, it turns into something interesting. And when you watch the film, you'll see that he really feels like he's part of those environments because we did have him. We had him in the water. We had him on people's backs. We had him in their arms as he's attacking them and pulling their hair for real. And I just if he was a CG creature, it would be it would be a disaster. I don't know how it would just be nowhere near as fun and it would nowhere near as like just as raw, So I think it was absolutely the correct way to go, and I had an absolute blast with a real puppet. Yeah.
So fun. I 100% agree with that. What is the hardest thing, though, about working with a puppet?
Well, yeah. Like the funny thing I always say is, on Blood and Honey, we have, if we need a shot of Winnie walking through a doorway, you press record and he walks through, and it's done in like 2 seconds. But with Pinocchio, any shot where he's moving in the film, apart from a couple of the wides where it's stop motion, but pretty much any of the shots where he's walking, it's like a mid shot. So you don't see him full body because he's like really heavy. The one you saw was just it wasn't the animatronic version. So I don't know if you felt the weight of him.
Yeah.
The animatronic one is like five
Really?
times heavier.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
like way heavier. So you can lift him, but you don't want to be holding him for long because it's like, oh my
Right.
God. So we would like take his legs off and we would hold him by his bum, and we would move him like that basically. And the easiest way to do it was for someone to lie down on the floor and have him on your chest like that, pointing up, and then like either move him like that a few steps or lie on a skateboard or something. So all the shots where he's walking, it's like yeah, mid shot, and then you'd have someone with little fishing wire to do the arms, one person on each arm, and then you'd have two people on the remote controls to do his face and his neck, and then you'd have all sorts of things. So you get this one little moment of Pinocchio walking through the door. Even his little hands. Like if you wanted his hands moving, we could do it, but the elbow was like connected with wires and things, and someone would be controlling it from here, and then they would be off camera, and then we would join that arm to his thing there, so he could like open the little door, walk in, and then look. And that moment there took about it could take like 8 people to get that one thing, and we're all like
Wow.
lying on the floor, hiding out behind the frame. Some people were above the frame, and we're trying to get this tiny little moment, and it took ages. And day one, Reese and I were like, "Well, fuck, this is going this is a lot harder than we thought."
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
but yeah, I mean, of course, there was technical issues as well. Like the puppet is a mechanical thing that needs repairing, and he would break down or he would be a bit janky. But the puppet team were, they're amazing. They had their massive tables laid out of tools and all sorts of things, and we had a backup doll, and we would kind of switch between them, and they would be working around the clock to try and keep him serviced. Like a Formula One crew trying to keep this
Yeah.
puppet going, and we're there just like ha ha ha, throwing blood at it and chucking him downstairs and all sorts. And so yeah, he broke a lot, and then of course filming with children, you can only have them for so long on set. They can only be up so late, and so it was just a mixture of yeah, all sorts of things to battle with. But it was fun.
Without giving too much away, did you have a favorite scene to film?
So you know what? There's only I think all the death scenes are good, and I know that sounds like some nonsense that people would say, but I actually do. I shot all of the Winnie the Poohs. I shot all of the TCU films, and I'll admit that some of them have got some really janky, bad moments that weren't great. We didn't have the time or the budget to do what we wanted to do. But with Pinocchio, even though it was a struggle and as always low budget filmmaking, I'm actually really happy with pretty much all the deaths. All of them, I think. But the one for me that stands out, not because it's the best death, but because it's the one that we really achieved what we wanted to do, what we originally set out to do. And that there's a scene where Pinocchio he he's off to get revenge on someone that how do I say this? He's like a drunk driver and he's like
Mm.
crashed into James and he's wanting to get revenge on this guy and he's in the hospital bed and he's like he's kind of sedated, so he's like he can't move his body right now, but you can sort of see Pinocchio coming for him, and Pinocchio climbs up on the bed and he's walking along the bed towards him slowly and ripping his face off and all sorts of stuff. And that one there, you watch it and it just cuts so well. It really feels like Pinocchio is doing this. And if you were there on the day, you would just the amount of like nonsense we had to do to make this work was just ridiculous. But I just think it works so well, and to really see him like glistening in blood and or it was just really fun. And he's like putting bits into his body and he's like cutting the guy open and it's a really fun set piece. Like we had a little set build where we had like the hospital bed with like green lighting and moon lighting coming in and blood everywhere and he's throwing bits onto the window and it's like hitting the blinds and he's like so innocent while he's doing it. He's like it's like the first guy in the film he kills and he's like he just doesn't even know what he's doing. Do you know what I mean? He just wants to get rid of this guy and doesn't know how. So he's just going at him. But it's brilliant. It's super fun and it's one of my favorites in the film.
Oh, I can't wait to see that. That sounds like a lot of fun. So as you mentioned, you filmed all of the, Poohniverse films up to this point. Have you learned anything from one of the previous films, as far as being a cinematographer that you've carried over that lesson to Pinocchio Unstrung?
I think every film is a lesson really. You learn something from every job. I'm trying to think what I would might have specifically learned that I've brought over. Um, I mean, I think it's always just about being prepared and having, what you need and the right box of tricks to solve certain problems. And I don't know, I can't think of something specifically to say to that. I don't know. No, I don't know.
No, that's a good answer. I was thinking maybe
Yeah.
something like maybe you used a new type of camera, a new type of lens you hadn't used on one film, and then you used it again on this film, or something technical with like weather or like weatherproofing the camera. I don't know. I
Mm.
was just wondering because all these elements get thrown at you when you're on set that you didn't like plan for ahead of time. So then it's like, oh
Yeah.
well, if that happened on this film and then it happened again on this film, like you're more prepared for it. But that's a good answer too, just being
Well, I
prepared for these
mean,
types of things.
on Bambi, we experienced just the coldest, most miserable shooting conditions known to man. And I know that sounds ridiculous to England, but it was really, really cold. We had cameras frosting over, the screens were frosting over because it was so cold. Um, we would walk one day through the slushing mud, and then the next day it would just be frozen ice and solid hard. And the our camera carts were getting stuck in everything, and it was terrible. So I think from that we've learned to be more prepared, really. But honestly, that's more my AC team. They're amazing. Jimmy's been on most of these, and he went through Bambi, and I don't know if it was necessarily anything that we did wrong and that we could have learned from, but we now are a little bit more prepared, I'd say, for
Yeah,
this
you
sort of
never
thing.
know. You never know with the weather. That's crazy. I've also heard the
Yeah.
opposite where it was like extremely hot and the cameras they had to like I forgot what the term was. It was like defog or something like that. And I had never even heard of that before. So
Oh yeah.
they had to like let the camera sit in that heat, like the outdoor heat for like hours to like get used to it before they could actually start filming. So stuff like that always is like
Yeah.
fascinating to me because when you're watching it in a theater or you're watching it at home, you don't know these types of things. So it's always fun
Yeah.
to like
Yeah.
get to hear all these behind the scenes stories and
Like your glasses, if you go from somewhere cold to hot and then they fog up, that's like because of the condensation. Yeah, you need to have kit acclimatize.
yeah.
I've done a lot of hot weather shooting and yeah, and it's or even cold weather. What happens is you'll be outside in the freezing cold and you'll go to an indoor location and the change of temperature can just be a real
Oh my
problem.
gosh. Ugh, that is crazy. So you've
Mm.
collaborated with the director Reese Frake-Waterfield on several films at this point. What is your favorite thing about getting to work with Reese?
Favorite thing about Reese, working with Reese, I think Reese is great because he's really excited and he's really like he has like a really good energy and he's always very like he is such a big horror fan that he just wants to make things that he would want to watch. Um, and you know, so he comes in with really fresh ideas that I would never even come up with. I'm more like technical, like how can we solve this problem? And he would just be like, I want to do something, I want this crazy thing to happen, and and then we have to put our brains together and work out how we can make it work. But I've been with Reese from the start of his career, really, because he sort of started off with helping Scott out and getting involved that way, and then started to direct and stuff. And but he's come leaps and bounds from the start, really. He's sort of started off just not really knowing anything and just kind of learning on the job and going along with it. And and now he's actually very good, and he really knows what he wants, and he's very technically minded. He can problem solve. Um he has a very good understanding of the sort of editing and the post workflow. So with Dan, they both edited Pinocchio. So it's good to work with a director that is technically minded as well, because a lot of directors have all these big ideas, and then they don't necessarily know how to go about doing them, and they kind of it's like someone else's problem to work out. But with Reese, he'll know everything from start to finish on how something's going to be achieved, and so it's great to collaborate with someone that's got their head screwed on and comes with great ideas and a good vision.
Oh, that is great. Yeah, I love getting to do Q&As with Reese. He's so talented. And
Yeah.
yeah, like you said, it's so cool to be able to track someone's career of here's their first film, here's their second film, like and see the trajectory and see how they've improved and see all the stuff they've learned and stuff. So it's very fun and I'm glad to have been here since the very start. It's
Yeah,
really
yeah,
exciting. But Vince, I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your day to talk all things Pinocchio with me. If people
yeah.
want to follow you and keep up with all your upcoming projects, where can people come and follow you?
Best way is Instagram, Vince.Knight, Knight.
Perfect. I'll put a
Yeah,
link in the
man.
description of the video. Vince, thank you so much for being
Perfect.
here, and I'm sure I'll be seeing you in person hopefully very soon.
Yes.
But
Yep.
yes, thank you so much and have a great day.
Perfect. Thank you too. Bye.
Bye.